So what's up, everybody? I had to take a nice little 3-4 hour nap, and now it's back to work. So I started my cybersecurity classes. I have to look at what classes I'm going to take with AWS. One of the things that I do to keep myself focused, pen and paper never goes wrong. So I'm actually because I have to set up the Wi-Fi and internet and all the TV and stuff like that because no one wants to move into a house with all these things set up, right? Show you my electrician book, which I will get to at some point. So I was in a pre-apprenticeship, and unfortunately, things kind of fell apart with the provider who did not provide what they were supposed to. I got my laptop. It took forever to get the book, but you know what? I still have the book. So a lot of times, what I tell people with school, with studying, you if you get the book right, you can set at your own pace. You can also do what I've done for a number of credentials, credit by examination. I do very well on tests because I study for them. So like with taking the LSAT, I got the sample questions, and I'm able to start practicing and things like that. It's been a few years, but one of the things that I like about knowing how to do using zip ties, basic repair and things like that, um, being able to have the book. I did want to be a elevator electrician repair person, right? And Metro is here and all these things. But then I decided to change the trajectory where there's a lot of unions and there's a lot of contracts and there's a lot of things that go on. And so one of the things I like about law is that even though I have all these different specialties and things of that nature, they all relate back to law. Law, you have the ability to do research, to do writing, to be concise, to the point. And so having a business background and a legal background really helped me pursue a number of things. So the cybersecurity, that's needed everywhere, right? So I used to work on intellectual property, FOIA, ELC, labor disputes, lawyer disbarments, the whole nine. So I'm kind of going back to that. And one of the things I like to do in my spare time, like when do I ever have spare time, is to read, you know? And it comes in handy. And I like hands on, but in terms of the math and science, it's really good. And so at some point, I am going to finish this because there's always stuff to do, right? I'm going to get my real estate license. And I know everyone's like, oh, every Marine from California has a real estate license. Well, it is what it is. I have done a number of jobs related to real estate, especially real estate transactions. And I used to work in the office of real estate transactions when I worked for the Department of Transportation. One of the things that I like about buildings, right? When you look at all this retrofitting, all the repurposing, green, and all these things, you're going to need to have electricians. So I'm going to get my credential. Why? Because I am going to study and pass the test. So that way, I don't want to just do fixer uppers. I want to be able to go in and rehab properties and get grants to operate what I'm going to call healing centers for people that are displaced. I think that we should do away with the term homeless because the term means that a person is less of a home, which means that they're less than worthy to have a home. You look at semantics, home less home. No, they're not disadvantaged, they're displaced, you know? And part of having these different credentials is so when I go to companies, right? Because I'm also getting into the angel investing, I want to be able to show them that not only do I have the certifications, I am able to hire reputable contractors, reputable companies, right? Because a lot of contracts are awarded based off designations. So, part of what I want to do is expand a lot of the pre apprenticeship programs that we used to always have, like automotive, in the schools, home ec, a number of things. And so, as it says, yeah, credentials matter. So, who knows? Maybe I'll do some consulting for Ramada because I do feel they're too big for their britches in the sense of they're operating in Maryland, DC, and Virginia, and they're for profit, their business. And so we got to make sure that the highest standards are held. There was a train explosion many years ago. We're paying for that, taxpayers. There was also a number of lawsuits with bus drivers. I mean, I actually recorded a bus driver, not a metro bus, another bus, drunk, sloshing, like swerving, missing the stops. And I recorded him. I said, "Sir, have you been drinking? Because your driving is erratic." The people on the bus were afraid. We were like, "What in the world?" And of course, no one will believe you unless you have video. So it's a good thing that there are actually video cameras on, public transportation. And so what I want to do is actually improve transportation because there are a number of areas, especially in Maryland and Virginia, that are very rural and people have to commute very far to get to work. You want people to be able to access public transportation. I've been a fan of public transportation for many years because I travel so much. So it doesn't make sense for me to have a car. I gave up my car many years ago. I haven't looked back. Yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit inconvenient, but I'll just have a driver, easy. So, cybersecurity, electrician, but the real estate credential, that is going to allow me to be able to step in when the government cannot assist people or refuses to assist people, as well as when nonprofits, they have the desire to help people, but they don't have the funding mechanisms. So a lot of these coalitions and nonprofits that I work with, I help raise funds for them. It's called lobbying. Instead of lobbying for corporate, which I've done, instead of lobbying for politicians and all this stuff, I lobby for legislation and for programs and contracts that are going to benefit people, not just a few. So, 1 second, I have to go check my brisket. Cooking. Got this. Got my seasonings. And so, I'll tell you, when you have to cook, and you're cooking naturally, like, I don't know, beans and soups and stews and casseroles, I like to kind of get started now. Actually, I can turn this off. Check the brisket. It's ready. Cooking. I cook a lot, especially late at night. And the reason why, I need to be on my computer doing my work. And, children, gotta set a good example. So, making sure that everybody has food in the household. Before I leave my house every day, I clean it. Yeah, I get up early and I make sure everything is in order. And then I make sure that the refrigerator is fully stocked with whatever my family will need. So as myself, you know, um, food prep and all that stuff go hand in hand. So you have to think of goal planning, right? Your long term and your short term goals. And so the short term goals is that this Google certificate is not going to take me long at all. This is going to take a little bit longer, but what I do, I break it down in spurts, right? The multiplier for determining the distance between bends is, and all these things. So even if you cannot afford a course, right? But I got scholarships. Um, you can always get the book. I even go to the library. When I did not get selected for the Boeing cybersecurity apprenticeship program, right? I didn't let it stop me. I talked to them, find out why wasn't my application as successful? What can I do the next go around? So sometimes we don't always get what we want the first time, you know. And then I realized, hey, I don't need to pay thousands of dollars to go to some cybersecurity boot camp that a lot of these companies are telling you you need to have. And then I thought about it. Well, I can get the scholarship for cybersecurity. Perfect. I already have a good background in cybersecurity, intelligence, investigations, all that stuff. That's how I've actually been able to catch a number of criminals through technology. And so, helping law enforcement and also government agencies have better technology skills internally is my goal. And let's see, the real estate. Well, a woman has to earn a living, correct? Correct. So I don't have to rush out to go sell homes. I can stage them myself, do the marketing. I worked for realtors for many years. I worked for title companies. I worked for mortgage companies. I worked in the banking industry. So now I'm able to utilize that experience in my professional life, but how it translates in my personal life, and then where I want my business to go. So back to angel investing. Not only do you want to have a business plan, you want to make sure that you have the credentials necessary. A lot of times people go into business and figure, I'm just going to hire this person, hire that person, right? But you should, like, for example, I wanted to get my PMP certification, property management, so I can help manage properties like I used to. And that's something later on down the road. But I'm going to first start with small things that I can do because I'm going to go into the housing and real estate industry, right? Don't you think it's handy? I've already pointed out the issues in this condo because it's brand new and I shouldn't see sparks coming out or some of the outlets are not working, right? Even the electrician closet. Let me show you. So this is not a safe setup where I have a surge protector, long cords running from this. I don't know who designed this electrician closet, but they should have put an outlet in here. Everything is all here for everything, right? You don't want to play with wires. No, absolutely not. And so I'm like, okay, I set the internet up, but I don't want this like this. It should be mounted and ran to the over top the wall. And I'm gonna need coaxial cable. So that's why I have a tech install coming tomorrow. And you know what's funny? I used to work for oh my God. I used to work with Comcast. You'd be surprised how angry people were at them. This was like literally 15 years ago. So I remember having to teach people how to do self installs, and I did IT and a number of things for many years. So that's why, even though I have these backgrounds, I still listen to people when they are explaining what they are faced with every day. Because I remember how hard it was when I was on the phone having to explain, and I did this in the government as well, having to explain to people how to set things up, and especially working with people that have many degrees. OMG. You don't know everything, right? And even myself, I have to check myself and remember that even though I know a lot, just let the person explain what they're going to do. It is often frustrating when you have to correct them. But I really appreciate when I don't have to do that because they paid attention to training. They paid attention to how they were trained because I ran many training programs. So, write this down, right? You want to look at what your goals are. What are the short term and what are the long term ways that you can achieve these things? Also, look at free resources. There are so many web platforms, and nowadays, most Department of Health and Human Services, they have free training online. Skill Up, Metric Learning, Coursera. There's LinkedIn Learning. So get a library card. DC Library. I have library cards everywhere. One thing I'll tell you about the DMV: you don't have to live in a certain jurisdiction to get a library card. I have plenty of library cards all the way from Baltimore all the way to California. So everywhere I go when I have to travel, I can go into a library. I know where all the law libraries are, things of that nature. So get used to going to the actual library. That's why I keep books. Like I keep my textbooks. A lot of times they come in handy as your own reference library. So the cybersecurity, and then of course I have AWS, so I can learn a bit more about AI and how to use that appropriately. Like there's Chat GTP that's now law firms are using. The only thing with AI is that they don't always give you the correct information. Remember, they're pulling it. So I prefer book-based research, and I prefer a lot of things to do myself. With some of the design work with websites and things like that, oh, AI is wonderful. I can literally just ask to search for different things and pull websites completely together. I actually had an issue where I put my whole website together for my company. It only took me 4 hours. And then, of course, it magically got erased and the company couldn't find it. Well, one thing you should know, whenever you publish something to the internet, it's cached forever. So now I have to go in and find the original website that I had and bring it back to life. No problem. That's why I like studying. And so the AWS, I have scholarship with them. So I will strategically kind of space that out to do a little bit here and there. And I take so many different webinars and things like that. A lot of times it's easy for me to let it run in the background while I'm cooking, while I'm doing work and things of that nature. So I talked to some really good realtors. I'm like, I'm not sure who I want to go with. Do I want to go with Longmax? I want to go with Berkshire Hathaway, all these different companies, because a lot of times they will pay for your training. However, you've got to make sure that your license, is relevant. So Caldwell Banker pays for my training. Does that mean I have to be a Caldwell Banker realtor? Same thing with insurance, because again, my 5-year goals, once I do all these things, education is lifetime learning. I really want to have my Series 7's license to sell stocks and annuities. So real estate and cybersecurity and even this are 3 different trajectories in which I can sell my services directly to the government, to nonprofits, to businesses. So I'm leveraging those relationships that I have built up for over 20 years. Definitely with wanting to have affordable housing that's going to be actually affordable and actually beneficial to the people that it's intended for. I don't have to wait on the government to give me a contract. Nope. I can set everything up myself. Private company. And with the nonprofits, right? Just a smart way to go about things. Once I've been in business most times you need to be in business for at least 2 years to show a track record, as well as your banking, as well as a number of things. So my credit, my personal bank, all these things, they matter. And that's why I've spent a lot of time saving money. The money that I save, I reinvest those dividends into my family business because obviously I want to have something for my children and grandchildren and beyond. That's the real wealth building, doing the hard work. Yeah. So I love that I have quiet space to do these things. And I don't have to pay for co-working space. I don't have to pay for gym memberships. I don't have to pay for everything because it is centrally located where I'm at. And I'm able to quickly get the things that I need done. So the real estate license is going to help me be able to buy properties through my LLC, even through my nonprofit, which I'm going to set up and start. I kind of want to take things one step at a time, but having a good business plan, having the education yourself. So when I am talking to an electrician and I'm going to give him him or her, whomever, a contract, I'm going to know if they're legit. And also, if I need to step in or if I need to make a modification, yeah. And then to be able to show the government that, hey, I am getting people that are already in pre-apprenticeship programs that have already done the legwork. Or guess what I'll do? Get them in those programs to have that pipeline created so they don't just have to think about Metro. I've been telling people about electric cars, Tesla. I said I could be certified Tesla mechanic, and every BMW, all these cars, they're going to the hybrid, they're going to the electrician, all kind of stuff. You need to know different, trajectories and to look at the big picture. So the training company that I was with did not see the big picture. But the professor did, Shannon. I still remember her. She's amazing. You know, a beautiful black woman who has their master electrician. I'm like, I told her, I said, you need to drop this so-called training provider, because a lot of these workforce training providers, they're just in it for the money. I bust them all the time, especially at Department of Employment Services. A lot of times they're just sitting you in front of a computer doing nothing. I'm like, no. And then you go and you go to the front desk. I tell people, tell them what you specifically need help with, or ask them what can they help you with. You'd be surprised how much information these workers have, you know? And so kind of bringing that together, you know, and Department of Employment Services, they do a lot of good work. It was just a few bad apples that had to go. They were getting unemployment while working for Department of Employment Services. Make that make sense. So I don't just go around investigating and busting stuff up for no reason. This is intended for people to learn. It used to be in DC that adults, such as myself, we had scholarships set aside for us, you know. And even a lot of these young people, I need to let them know that if you graduate from any DC public school, you can get in-state tuition at any university. So do not think you are limited. Do not think that you cannot afford college. College should not be as expensive. Learning shouldn't be as expensive, right? So, what are ways that we can do to address that? And these are how all my goals are tied together. So, when I get my law degree, yeah, I can do real estate transactions. Yeah, I can take on labor disputes. Yeah, I can also do a lot of advising for intellectual property, patents, copyrights, the whole nine. And then, of course, me being an artist, right? I will be able to fund the art and music endeavors that I have, right? Because I want to be able to bring back art and music in our public schools more so, just across the board. And I love when you go to all these festivals and all these different town centers and stuff. People love to dance and they love music and they love food. And this is a great way to bring everyone together. And also, you know, if my daughters decided they didn't want to go to law school, they wanted to be an artist, I will fully support that. You cannot make your children do what you have done or to live vicariously through them. And I worked with a lot of people who had PhDs, who were lawyers, who were doctors, and they're like, my child must do this and they must go here. Is that what your child wants? Have you sat down and talked to your child about what they would like to do? And yes, sometimes you do have to motivate your children. I let my children pick out their own sports and their own camps and everything, right? Because I do it with them. I go get the catalogs and look. And when it comes to school, I am very engaged. Yeah, I'm at back to school night. I'm at parent teacher conferences, whatever it takes. So don't let anybody stop you. Don't let anyone tell you that education is not the answer, because it is. It is the great equalizer. It's how you can lift yourself out of poverty when the government, a lot of times, puts the conditions there for you to be in poverty, you know? And when the government is paying all these people and all these corporations and companies to do things, that's what you expect. You expect them, I gotta get the brisket out, to actually serve the needs of the people. When I attended a huge contracting thing at DOT a few weeks ago, I explained how a lot of times the benefit of volunteering and interning gives you an opportunity to learn, to network, and to build connections. And they're like, oh, well, you have to be able to afford to do so. Not necessarily, because I was able to get academic credit for a lot of my internships. So even though they were on paper as unpaid, the value and the connections and the things that I was able to learn when I interned on Capitol Hill, for example, many, many years ago, I got to learn about lobbying, learn about legislation, learn how the office of a congressperson or senator works. Who's the chief of staff? Who's the scheduler? Who are the people that you need to talk to? So a lot of times, the person answering the phone, they're reading a script that they're, told to tell you. And when I find that, like, when I work in DC government, a lot of places that the constituent services is lacking because no one is taking it serious. They feel, oh, this is not a priority for the elected official. Who told you to make that decision? You're not supposed to. People need help. You're supposed to help them. If you don't know the answer, no problem. You can go online. You can make a phone call. And me, having done that for many years, worked in so many different capacities, paid as well. That's how I'm able to get things done. A lot of times I tell people you need to know who your elected officials are and what their office can do for you and how they can step in. So when I had clients that had issues with Social Security, I knew who to contact. My senator. Federal agency issues require that you know your federally elected officials. Local government, state government, yeah, you need to know who your council members are. You need to know all these things. And it can be daunting to people. And so that's why I'm doing a lot of advocacy training to know the fastest way to connect people, but also how to get that person to understand that this is a serious issue. And I know you may have other things on your agenda, but you need to stop and listen to this and knowing the statistics, knowing the facts. And also helping people utilize their voice. You do not have to wait on the government to come help you. The government is supposed to do a lot of things, and if they're not, how to bring awareness to that, how to bring attention to that, and how to show that you're not the only one being impacted. Grassroots lobbying, how to get people engaged. So that's why I go to a lot of protests and a lot of rallies and a lot of advocacy day. I get on the bus all the time. I have to go to Annapolis. I have to go to Richmond, a lot of places. So I've scaled back a lot of those things so I can be there for my family. So I have my schedule, and there are certain things, I'm sorry, I just cannot attend. But I'm also open to doing a lot of these things remotely. That's what I love. Because a lot of times people do not have time to be sitting in traffic, especially when it's board meetings and stuff like that. You have things to do. You have laundry, you have food. Right. So these are easy ways that you can stay organized, you can be happy, and you can pursue your goals. You take things one step at a time, see how they're related. You know how I was able to graduate early when I did undergrad and I double majored in small business and pre-law? I got like 4 different certificates in, I don't know, marketing, small business management, sales. They said salesman, but sales should be saleship, period, or saleswoman. All these things, and accounting. These are skills that any business. Oh, did I forget? I'm also in training to be volunteer tax preparer. So I can get that. I've been doing it for years, but now I'll be able to be registered at the IRS. And so you need to have practice preparing taxes, which I have, but now I'm going to be able to do it in a way so next year I can be a certified tax preparer with Intuit, as well as a bookkeeper. You need to learn how to manage your finances. Having done this for the government and stuff like that, why not? So these are my goals. It may seem to some people, oh, you're just all over the place. Not really. I have an agenda of my own, and I have ways that I look at how I can shape my career for the next 5 to 10 years. Because honestly, I'm retiring at 60, and I'm a long fucking way from 60. But what's going to get me there is doing the groundwork now. Yeah. And also because I have children who will be going to college. And you know what? I decided that I do want to have more children. So this is the perfect time, especially if I'm going to have little children once again running around my house, to make sure that I can go back to what I was doing when my now teenagers were little, working from home, going to school from home, only having to come out of my house just a few times a week, and I loved it. And I'm going back to that, So you got to do what works for you. I got to go because I always have things to do. I just want to share this video so that way you guys know. Don't let anybody stop your dreams. You can do it. Sit down with your guidance counselor at school. Sit down with human resources at your job. What do you offer? What can I utilize? And I still have all my benefits, except for the military, which I am waiting for that to be reinstated now that this identity theft issue has finally been resolved. And it's coming. And so I can utilize being able to get a pension when I'm old enough for it because I already have over 20 years of service, the military, law enforcement, the government. So, yeah, retirement's going to be okay. And I'm going to look forward to it because all I plan to do is travel with my family and friends. And so people are like, why don't you get a event management or travel agency? Well, I'm thinking about it, but the real estate will definitely be a stronger fit, especially with knowing how to secure funding, things of that nature. And then, being able to do the walkthroughs. Um, I'm not going to hire just these huge contract companies. No, I don't mind hiring small companies and giving them an opportunity, getting them the certification so that they have a seat at the table. That's what it's all about. There's enough money for everyone to do well. And then even with real estate, I have the perfect personality for it. That's why these marketing companies pay me, to market their products. And then I had like 9 Airbnb properties when Airbnb first started. And I would have to go in. And what I'm doing now for second home is staging, setting everything up. So I would have clients who I would help them pick their interior decorator. I would help them pick out what do you actually want for your home. And sometimes what people want compared to what you can actually do for them, completely two different things. So having those consultations come in handy. And then when I had clients that had these rental properties, a lot of them are out of the country. I was the caretaker for their properties. I did property management. You're going to need someone to pay your utilities. You're going to make sure that the grass is cut, that the trash is picked up, that your guests, any and everything that they need, that I'm there. Right? This is well before VBRB and all this stuff. And I was paid well, very well. I mean, think of it, 9 properties. I had the keys to all these houses. And I did not hire anyone that I did not do a background check on. I did not hire anyone that could not pass a criminal background check. And if there's an issue in your background, then be upfront and honest. And there are things, depending on what it is, called expungement, called probation before judgment, a number of opportunities. And so I like to give second chances to people who should have had the first opportunity from the get go. So that's why returning citizens, you know, I help them. I help them because they have helped me and they should not be taken advantage of whatsoever. So I care about people. And as a returning citizen, that is something that's very important to me. Don't let the time do you. And that's why, having been someone that has been falsely accused of a number of things and having to contact ACLU and all these different Innocence Project, I have met some of the most amazing people behind bars that should not be there. And I am grateful that I was able to turn my life around from a very young age. Yeah, I tell people, you will have no idea what I'm capable of, darling. Nothing like what they have told you whatsoever, you know. But I really want to strengthen these opportunities. There's a lot of companies that they can hire you if you're bonded. And so getting more companies to invest and giving people an opportunity. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'll just share this with y'all. Criminal justice system, it is corrupt. It is. They got you by bootstraps, literally, when you're trying to do the right thing in life. So, I look forward to seeing a lot of people that I was incarcerated with a long time ago. And the ones that are doing well, I work with them. I don't work with human traffickers whatsoever. Absolutely not. And, see people in there for a small violation, right? And I mean a small violation. I mean like tickets. They're actually ticketing the homeless in California. They're getting records. How's a person with a criminal record gonna get housing? Gonna have an opportunity for education? They're not. And that's why we have to level the playing field by first going through a lot of these convictions. Were they legit? They weren't. And then also getting people to be accountable for their own actions and their behavior. I'm not an angel, just appear that way. And so also getting people to realize you don't have to sell drugs. You don't have to, definitely should never sell your body. There are better ways to make money. And I know it's hard, especially when people are stressed out. How are they gonna pay their bills? And then if you get any involvement with courts, police, oh my God, they will be ticketing you, fining you, and at the end of the day, taxpayers are paying for this. We shouldn't be incarcerating people. We should be helping them be rehabilitated. Absolutely. And part of the rehabilitation, it starts with education. Education can open your eyes and open doors that you would never believe imaginable. So that's why I still go back to the jails and detention centers and tell them I was here. And they look at me and I look at them. Yeah, looks are deceiving, darling. And I've never been a prostitute. I have never been a fan of prostitution because I know the poison that it brings to a person. I've never been a drug addict or been addicted to drugs. But would I look at getting a certification as an addictions counselor? Yeah, because I got to make sure that these treatment facilities and programs are actually rehabilitating people, not breaking them even worse. The oath, do no harm, the Hippocratic oath. So maybe one day I'll go back to the medical field. Who knows? But for right now, I'm happy with the trajectory in which my life is back on. And it's all thanks to the Lord. So, y'all have a blessed day.